This was the ship that was considered Britain's identity during World War II. The Supermarine Spitfire, an exceptional fighter plane, was renowned for its speed and agility, making it a favorite among pilots and earning it the reputation of a war-winning machine among the public. However, in reality, this plane suffered from a significant problem. The issue was that its engine would shut off at critical moments, particularly when it was engaged in a dogfight with a German pilot, especially when it was made to dive downward. On the other hand, the German Luftwaffe's Messerschmitt 109 fighter plane had no such issue, which often gave German pilots the upper hand over British pilots during battles. Britain won the Battle of Britain with great difficulty, and the primary reason for this struggle was precisely this engine problem with the Spitfire. If Britain wanted a clear victory in the rest of World War II, solving this strange issue with the Spitfire was absolutely essential. They put in tremendous effort. Major engineering firms tried their best, but no one could resolve the Spitfire's problem. Finally, a solution emerged, and it came from an unexpected source, a woman named Beatrice Schilling. What this woman did with the Spitfire is why she is credited today by the Allies with helping win World War II. The issue with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine in the Spitfire first surfaced in 1938. At that time, it wasn't considered a major problem because pilots didn't frequently dive before World War II, but by 1940, when the Battle of Britain was at its peak, it was no longer just a technical glitch, it had become a matter of survival. An even bigger problem was that, before World War II, the British government had produced over 20,000 Spitfires, all of which had the same issue because they were all equipped with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. The seriousness of the situation became clear when the British realized that the Royal Air Force, RAF, had other fighter planes, like the Hawker Hurricane and Bolton-Paul Defiant, that also used the same Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. So, amidst the heat of World War II, the Allies were forced to fight with planes powered by a fundamentally defective engine. In 1940, during World War II, Nazi Germany was pitted against France and Britain. When German pilots entered Allied territory with their Messerschmitt 109s, the RAF's Spitfires were deployed to counter them. To evade each other's bullets, pilots used advanced maneuvers, such as diving suddenly or pulling the plane upward. This was a common tactic in World War II. Planes could engage in combat for hours using such maneuvers, sometimes diving down to avoid enemy fire, or quickly pulling up to target another plane and shoot. Now, imagine during this life-and-death dogfight, if someone's engine suddenly shut off, what terror that would bring. Fortunately, during the Battle of Britain, British pilots had a home court advantage. Their fuel supply was nearby, allowing them to fight for hours. German pilots, on the other hand, had to cross the English Channel, fight, and then return to their base for refueling, a clear disadvantage for them. Perhaps that's why they couldn't fully overcome even the defective Spitfires. The Battle of Britain ended, but World War II was far from over. The Spitfire's peculiar issues surfaced especially during nosedives. When a plane rapidly descends in a free fall, anything not firmly secured, like the blood rushing through a pilot's body or the fuel in the engine's carburetor, defies gravity and moves upward instead of downward. Unfortunately, in the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine's carburetor, the fuel outlet was positioned at the bottom. So, when the plane dove sharply, the fuel in the carburetor would rush upward, away from the outlet. During this time, the engine wouldn't receive fuel, causing it to either shut off completely or stutter until the plane leveled out again. To solve this problem, some of the world's brightest minds were tasked with finding a solution, including Cyril Lovesey from Rolls-Royce and Eddie Fisher from the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Both devised clever technical fixes, but both failed completely. In fact, their solutions introduced new problems to the aircraft. Solving this required a deep understanding of the engine's inner workings, which is why it was astonishing that, in 1940, the ultimate and most effective solution came from a woman we now know as Beatrice Schilling. When the Spitfire's production test flights began in 1938, a woman named Beatrice Schilling rebuilt and tested her favorite machine, a 490cc Norton motorcycle. This was the same bike that made her the fastest woman to ride a motorcycle at the Brooklands racetrack. Schilling was an incredible racer, but even more remarkable as an engineer. Her passion for motorcycles started in childhood. Around 1919, when Beatrice was just 10 years old, she noticed her sisters going on cycling trips while she was always left behind. So, she decided to save up for a motorcycle. By the age of 14, she achieved her goal by purchasing a two-stroke Royal Enfield. Gradually, she began fixing her bike's issues herself, and soon she could dismantle and reassemble it entirely. By 15, she decided engineering would be her true career. The only problem was that it was 1924, and society at that time couldn't even imagine girls becoming engineers. With help from the Women's Engineering Society, in October 1929, Beatrice enrolled in the Department of Electrical Engineering at Victoria University of Manchester, where no woman had ever studied before. Later, she got the chance to take classes in thermodynamics and mechanical engineering, her true passion. She was not only an engineer, but also a woman who raced against men at Brooklands, an achievement made possible because she had modified her 490cc Norton motorcycle's carburetor in a way that drastically improved its pickup. Schilling didn't realize it at the time, but this skill would go on to solve the biggest problem with the Spitfire and Hurricane fighters during World War II. Before the war, she had already spent 3 years working at the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Initially, her job was purely technical. She was supposed to write documentation, but by November 1939, after several promotions, Beatrice Schilling had reached the rank of technical officer. Now, her responsibility was to work on the research and development of carburetors. When Rolls-Royce engineers failed to solve the Spitfire's issue, Schilling sought permission from the authorities to tackle the problem herself. Initially, everyone underestimated her because she was a woman, but, astonishingly, Schilling not only resolved the issue in just a few days, but also left the authorities laughing at themselves when they saw her solution. So, what exactly did she do? Schilling designed a simple brass restrictor, a small plate with a precisely measured hole that, when fitted into the carburetor, largely fixed the plane's problem. The biggest advantage of this solution was that the brass plate could be installed in the aircraft on the spot, meaning it wasn't overly time-consuming. Now, the major challenge was to go to different bases and install this solution in the Spitfires. For this task, Schilling used her Norton motorcycle, traveling to various bases to fit the solution into both Spitfires and Hurricane fighters. Her solution was so successful that it was dubbed Miss Schilling's Orifice. This small plate didn't completely eliminate the pilot's biggest issue, but it addressed it to a significant extent. Later, Schilling designed an entirely new carburetor for the Rolls-Royce Merlin, solving the problem once and for all. After winning World War II, pilots gave all the credit to Schilling's ingenuity. In recognition of her efforts, she was awarded the Order of the British Empire, OBE. After World War II, instead of abandoning engineering, Schilling began working on new and advanced military projects. By 1950, her work had expanded into fields like rocketry, ramjets, and guided weapons. In 1955, she was appointed Senior Principal Scientific Officer at the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Beatrice Schilling wasn't just a mechanic or an engineer. She was an extraordinary character who opened new doors for women in engineering. It's widely believed today that if Schilling hadn't been there during World War II, the world map might not look the way it does now. We hope you'll like and share this video as much as possible. A heartfelt thank you for all your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.